Hey everybody, welcome to another snapshot video. Today version 18W31A was released, contains some interesting changes and also some really nice bug fixes. So first of all we want to take a look at the whole observer and piston situation. The pistons and observer have seen some changes before, directly before the release of 1.13 and also afterwards. But it seems like they're now stable again and work pretty similar or the same like they did in 1.12. I also checked if my door that I released today still works. That's definitely the case. It is also great news, at least for me. Awesome. Closing also works. So I definitely tried to avoid some of the 1.13 bugs the Pistons had when designing the door. The 4x4 door also still works. So this is pretty great. Also the 1.12 contraption should all work. I'm gonna test a few tomorrow, like my tree farm and so on, just to see if it behaves the same. Scicraft was actually also involved in fixing the pistons and mostly the observers. We sent a observer test world to one of the Mojang developers with some of the 1.12 behavior, and they changed observers in a way that all the old behavior was kept in the end. For example, here we have the observer clock. If you push both observers, you get a pulse every 6 game ticks. And if you push just a single observer, you get the 4 game tick clock back. So it seems like everything is back to normal and the old contraptions will probably work again. We'll keep an eye on it. There's so much little details to pistons and observers. It's kind of hard to check it all immediately, but usually we'll find out if something still behaves differently. It also seems like TNT duping is now fixed for good. That is a duper that worked in 1.13. At least this version doesn't work anymore. Also check copy duping. That, for example, still works. Then we got an interesting new command. It's the chunk command. This was probably implemented as a reaction to the change to permaloaders. You can find a link in the description to gnembon's video. He explains it in more detail. So basically what we can't do anymore in 1.13 was to keep larger areas of chunks loaded 100% of the time. There's always the issue that chunks get unloaded every 900 ticks, and if it happens to be something like a quarry that could break if it gets unloaded even for a single tick, this would have been an issue since we couldn't use systems like that anymore. Maybe as a compensation, a new command got added, the chunk command, and this could force keep certain chunks to be loaded. So over there, this is actually the chunk that I wanted to keep loaded. There's just a command block in it that counts up every tick. And now interestingly, if I fly away, this chunk doesn't get unloaded by the player unloading anymore. So as you can see, once it's out of reach, it doesn't get unloaded. And it also doesn't get unloaded by the autosave. Usually every it's actually command save all every 900 ticks. You can see the counter is still going. You can also turn this off. So instead of force loaded, you need to unforce load it, and then it will be unloaded at the next autosave. But I can just do a command and it's immediately stopped. Alright, I can also turn it back on, but you need to load the chunk so it would work again. So basically only protects chunks from being unloaded, but doesn't load them on its own. So if I fly next to it, you can see the counter starts back up again. Alright, let's also do the unforce command again, just to show the player unloading. So usually just moving away would also unload the chunk. Alright, this is kind of interesting, maybe for map makers. Unfortunately, there's still no ways to do this in survival. Also, what's also kind of missing is an on-off switch, like we had with redstone dust, for example. So it would be nice if we would at some point get something we could use in survival as well. There's also an interesting change to all fish types. They would now have a 5% chance to drop bone meal directly. So this could be an alternative to skeleton farms, but a 5% chance isn't much. So you would need to kill about 60 fishes to get the equivalent of killing one skeleton without looting. So it's definitely not the best option to get bone meal, but it's definitely an interesting option. Since you get the bone meal directly and it doesn't require any crafting. If you have, for example, a tree farm that doesn't need a ton of bone meal, maybe a 2x2 spruce tree farm, and you have some kind of a fish farm next to it, you could maybe keep the tree farm running infinitely. So this would be definitely an interesting idea for a farm. And another interesting change, squid will now only spawn in river biomes and ocean biomes. I also tested, it seems like they still spawn from sea level to 46, so you can't make a simple sky farm, and obviously you can't make a simple farm in a desert biome anymore. But you can probably still make a decent farm by choosing your AFK spot, so by AFKing above the farm you can probably concentrate all the spawns directly in the river segment where you wanted to have it. But you probably need to at least drain a river around it in order to make sure that these squids can only spawn in your farm. So this will definitely require more effort now to make a decent squidding farm. Conduits can now exist without water, but you can't place them on dry land, so you still need to place them in water, but you can now bucket the water away. So this might be interesting for some decoration, might be just the block that you want. The conduit doesn't function without water, by the way, so in case you want to try that. Also has an interesting hitbox. It's 10 pixels wide, so like the cobble wall between the cobble wall pillars, and 11 pixels high. Another nice change is that we can farm corals now using bone meal. So those will become renewable, but we can only get those coral plants, not the blocks, unfortunately. It also works with a dispenser, so you can definitely make a setup, but you need to keep in mind that you need Silk Touch in order to get the items. Alright, that's it for this snapshot video. Definitely lots of interesting changes and also nice bug fixes. Thanks a lot for watching, see you in the next one, bye bye.